Okay, I'm back at it again with another video here. Today I have this Ariens Deluxe snowblower. It has an LCT, I think it's a 254cc engine, something like that. And it's surging. The customer has been experiencing this surging for a little while now, and it's not gone away. So today I'm gonna show you what I do to fix the surging. It's a very common problem. It's not necessarily bad for it, it's just annoying. I'll start it up. It's about 20 degrees out today. It's very tropical, so I'm not gonna stay out here very long, but I'm gonna start this up and I'll show you what it is doing, and then I'll move inside and then I'll show you what I do to fix it. I'll prime it up, choke, start. Now this one in particular does idle. Well, I guess it just stalled. Sometimes it won't idle. Here, let me see if I can get it back started. Okay. So anyways, that's the deal we have here. And it's not too bad to fix it, so I'll show you what the deal is. Okay, I don't know if you could tell or not, but I was absolutely dying to get inside because it was very cold out there. So anyway, when an engine surges like that, typically the problem is, well, let's start with this. It's a fuel problem. It's running lean somehow, okay? It's not running, and lean meaning not enough fuel. Rich meaning too much fuel. So it's running lean. More specifically, inside the carburetor, there's an idle circuit for your fuel and a wide open throttle circuit. So there's different passages the fuel runs through in your carburetor when it's idling and when it's wide open throttle. So the idle circuit and the wide open throttle circuit both have what are called jets. And jets are little orifices in the carburetor which allow fuel to pass through. The jets are sized just right for the correct amount of compression that the engine has, and the way the carburetor is designed, just the right amount of fuel goes through that jet to mix with the proper amount of air to have the engine run supposedly clean, right? And in this particular case, what a lot of the times happens is the idle circuit's jet has been restricted or clogged somehow. That's why sometimes they don't idle when it surges like this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tear apart the carburetor and try to get to that idle jet, also called a pilot jet. A lot of the times they call it a pilot jet, and the wide open throttle one they call a main jet. So the main jet and the pilot jet. The pilot jet is very easy to get to here. I don't even think you have to take the carburetor off. An LCT carburetor is designed very closely to a Honda carburetor in regards to the jet locations. So I'm thinking the jet's just going to be right on top of the carburetor, and it's going to be very easy to get to. So it should not be difficult to do it at all. So what I am going to do is I am going to start pulling some of these shrouds off. My guess is that this is all one shroud, so the muffler will come off, or the muffler shroud here will come off with the air intake shroud here. So my guess is what's going to have to happen is the choke lever is going to have to come out, and the throttle lever is also going to have to come out. There's two screws back here that I'm going to have to take out, and it looks like there's two here and two here. And then my theory is that whole thing will loosen up then. So I'm going to go ahead and give that a try. Okay, so what I did here is I just took out 6 bolts. There's 2 here, 2 here, and 2 here. And I'm thinking, yeah, that whole thing's gonna move now. So now I'm guessing, actually, you know what? I think I have to take out one more. This one on the side here, it looks like it's holding on something else here. There we go. All those bolts look like the same size. They're a 10 millimeter. Yeah, that's all loose up there. And it actually looks like there's another one right here that needs to come off. Oh. It actually looks to me like this can just come right off. Yeah, there we go. There, I just took those muffler shrouds right off of there. Gives me a lot more room to work with. Okay, now it looks like this will just come off except for the throttle and choke linkages here. Oh, there we go. That was easy. They just pulled right off of there. Now I bet you this will just slide right off. Yep, there we go. And then there's a switch for the key down below. Yeah, it looks like we have some wires down here. We have the primer, and then we have the wires that go into the kill switches there. It looks like if I just take off, actually I might have to take off all 4 of these wires here. Here, you can't even see, can you? There, right there. So it looks like here we have 4 wires. 2 of them are here and 2 of them are here. It looks like it's just in series. Right? Series? Parallel? I don't know. They're wired together. And it looks like they all have to come off. Unless I can just take the primer line off and set this thing aside so I don't have to take the wires off. I don't know. I don't really like this dangling there though. Let me see if I can get, there's a primer line for the primer bulb on the carburetor right on the side here. I want to see if I can get either side of it off. There, I took it off the primer bulb. It looks like one side has a plug that you can take out if I needed to. And the other side, it's just grounded to the block. So one of them probably goes to the coil. I still wish I could get these wires off though. It looks like there you go. I just have to pull a little hard. There we go. Here they come. And I have the other 2 right there. If they haven't been touched in a while, then they get quite stiff sometimes. Sometimes I need a screwdriver to pry them off. I might have to do that. Let me go do that. All right. There we go. There's one. See if I can get the second one. There we go. Oh, it looks like these terminals actually have like a one-way clip on them. All right, oh well. Okay. Oh, it looks like there's another shroud here. So it looks like there's 2, it looks like these are probably nuts. They probably just come off. I bet you they want you to take this shroud off with the carburetor because this probably won't come off otherwise. Let me see if I can take those off. There we go, they just look like studs. All right, let's see what will come off here. I bet you this is not designed to come off this way because the carburetor. It looks like the spark plug wire is attached to this shroud also. There's like a one-way clip here. Oh, that just came out. All right, I'll put this back. I bet you if I slide the entire carburetor out a little bit, I can get this shroud off eventually. Man, that shroud goes far in there. Do I have to take this one off too? It looks like this shroud goes all the way down in here. Let me look and see if there's any bolts to hold that on there. Looks like there's just two. It looks like the electric start also goes on there. So this is gonna have to come off, this little knob. Here's the other side of that apparatus here. It looks like I just have to pull off the electric start button, and then there's two bolts there. And it looks like then that shroud will come off. It doesn't look that bad. I just feel like they should make it easier to get to the carburetor. All right, don't lose those. Oh, there's 4 bolts. Jeez. I'm not sure why I didn't decide to make my life easier earlier and use this, because it takes me about 5 seconds to do all the bolts, whereas the other one takes a lot longer. All right, I bet you this will come off now. There it goes. Oh my gosh, it just looks like more shrouds and more shrouds and more shrouds. Oh, okay, it looks like there's just a bolt there that holds on the carburetor thing. I'll show you in like 2 seconds. I'm just looking here. Gonna be a little tough to see from here, but the bolt is right there. And this shroud, this is the thing that's on the carburetor right there. Goes all the way back there. Why do they make it like that? My guess is they make it like that, I don't know, probably to make it more intimidating to repair, in all honesty. That's my thoughts. Oh, I was hoping I was gonna be able to get at that with this. Do I have to take the gas tank off too? I don't wanna do that. Let me try a wrench, like a proper wrench. I certainly hope that they would give me enough room to go in there with a wrench. If not, that's just evil. Oh yeah, I can I can make do with this. It's better than taking the gas tank off, I guess. Can you see? I hope there's not another one back there. It looks like it's just that one. And this looks pretty loose now. Uh-oh. Wait, here, wait. Okay, I got it. I bet you this will come off. I hope there's not another one. Let me see if I can slide the whole thing out a little bit. Come on, let's go. Move it, move it. It's gonna be a little stiff, especially with this fuel line right there. There's gotta be an easier way to do this. Why are they designing stuff so crazy now? There we go. There we go. Oh, that's where the linkages are. I mean, you didn't have to cover those up. I don't know. I like the idea. It's just so difficult to get that off. I mean, I pulled off so much metal and plastic just to get to the carburetor at this point. It's absolutely ridiculous. Okay, here's the deal. There's the carburetor. Right here. That's awesome because I'm not even sure if I have to take it off. I mean, maybe I'll pop the bowl off and just look at it, but you see right here, the red thing, that's the pilot jet. Man, I just want to back up and appreciate how elaborate this carburetor design is. I have no idea how to pronounce it, but the name is right here. It's Huayi. Huayi. Huawei? I don't know. Here, look. Huayi. Huawei? Anyway, Huawei is the OEM carburetor supplier for LCT. LCT being the engine company. So it's definitely definitely very familiar being an LCT engine. It makes it easy because they're practically Honda carburetors. They're very similar. It's, you know, it's not that different from a Honda, except all the stuff on top of it. So it's practically a Honda knockoff engine is really what it is. So it's, you know, if you know how to work on a Honda, these are not that much different except for all the stuff they put on top of it. This is really interesting how the throttle and choke works. The throttle, normally what happens is this is the throttle thing, and that sits about there, or somewhere about there. And when you hit the throttle thing, it opens up and shuts the I wouldn't have expected it to work like that, because I would have expected it to go back and forth. Oh, it does. I was going to say I would have expected it to go back and forth from the governor spring on the engine there, and it does. I didn't see that. So when I bump the throttle forward, it increases the strength of the spring, whereas if I dial it back some, the spring's not as strong. Actually, it won't even go out all the way. I have to open it up. But it's quite interesting how they did that on here to make that possible, to make it all the way up there. I've never seen that before. And then same thing with the choke. I don't know which one's the choke. This is the choke. I guess the choke, what they put it, oh, there it goes. I'm not going to press it on yet, but the choke knob goes there. And I don't know. It's just an interesting design, and I figured I would bring it to my attention. So the problem typically with these is the pilot jet, and that's the first thing I'm going to address is the pilot jet right there. And the only thing holding that pilot jet in is 2 O-rings and this screw here. This screw actually adjusts how low the engine idles. Okay, so that's the idle speed adjustment screw. You don't typically need to mess with it if it's surging. Typically what you want to do is you want to start with it right back where it was. So what I like to do is I like to turn the screw in and count how many turns I turn the screw in until it stops. And then I'll turn the screw back out that many times once it's time to put the screw back in, if that makes sense. So I'm going to, oh, that screwdriver fits good. I actually don't like using a Phillips screwdriver on these, even though there's 4 slots, because for some reason I've experienced in the past that the Phillips screwdrivers don't go all the way in. But ignore what I said, because typically they would go in like only like that much, not very much. Ignore that. Okay, so I'm going to turn this screw in until it stops, and then I'm going to remember that for when I have to put this back together. Okay, so I'm going to start at, okay, half a turn, 1 turn, 1.5 turns. By the way, I count by halves because it's more accurate in my opinion. 2 turns, and it stops right there. So 2 turns, and it was like an eighth. It was like a little teeny bit past 2. So 2 1/8 turns in. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this screw out now. Okay, don't lose this guy. It's very easy to lose, very brittle, and it's just a screw. Now, sometimes on newer engines, I have seen it a few times, not many, but they're starting to put, instead of the Phillips screw head on these screws, they're starting to put a single D shape on the screws, like the carburetors. I don't know if it's the EPA that enforces that, or if it's the carburetor companies, I'm not sure, but instead of the Phillips, they put like a D shape there. What I would do in that case is I would take a big screwdriver, like a really big screwdriver, and stick it in the length of the D. Now, in this case, we don't have to worry about that, but I'm just saying, if that happens to you, just use a big flathead screwdriver and do it that way. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and remove the pilot jet, and all I have to do is just take a screwdriver and pry it out, and there should be 2 O-rings on here. If there's not 2 O-rings, I'm going to worry, because then it's, where did the second one go? Oh, there's 2 O-rings. Good. Okay, this is all there is to it. This is the pilot jet. If you look inside here, there's a little piece of brass, and there's a little tiny orifice in there. all right? Just a teeny weeny orifice. And the way you could tell how big that orifice is if you look on the front of the jet here. I don't know if you could see it. You see there's a 45, and if I flip it around, 45. The way on these Honda engines, or I like to call them Honda, the Honda knockoff engines, the LCT engines, all those, that class of engine, with these pilot jets, the number on there equates to how many hundredths of a millimeter that jet is drilled out to. So in my case, the jet on this is drilled out to 0.45 millimeters, or 45 hundredths of a millimeter. 0.45 millimeters. 45 hundredths of a millimeter. You know how small that is? That's very small. That's how much fuel your machine needs to idle. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but the reason that this is the deal, even when your throttle's all the way up and it's you know, you're in wide open throttle and it surges, the pilot jet here actually supplies, I would say, about 10 to 15% of the fuel when your machine is in wide open throttle, right? It doesn't all just come from the main jet. About 10 to 15% of it actually comes from here, and that 10 to 15%, you're not having it, or you're not having some of that 10 to 15%, causes that surging quite often. Now, I think before I put all this back together, I'll take the bowl off of the carburetor and look at it and just make sure it's not a complete disaster. But I'm going to focus on this pilot jet first here. I'm going to take it over to the bench and show you what I do to make sure that this is all clear. Okay, so the way I deal with a problem like this is, I'm not sure if you've ever seen something like this before, but these are actually the smallest drill bits you'll ever see in your life. Very incredibly small. Typically, if the jet is not clogged, you'll be able to pass a drill bit that's 45 hundredths of a millimeter thick through there. 45 hundredths of a millimeter equates to about 17.7 thousandths of an inch. And my drill bits are measured in thousandths of an inch, not millimeters. That's why I say that. So in theory, if I grab a drill bit that's about a little bit less than 17.7 thousandths of an inch, it should pass right through there. Maybe it'll get out any gunk that's in there or anything like that, right? So I'm going to look here. It looks like the smallest drill bit I have is 16 thousandths of an inch. 16 thousandths of an inch looks like it will fit through there because it's less than 17.7. Okay? So I'm going to go through that hole with this drill bit. Actually, maybe I'll put it in my little holder. This is a drill bit holder. A micro drill bit holder. These are micro drill bit holder. And the little tiny orifice in there, I'm going to take this drill bit and it should pop right through. If you could see it, it should go right through. Yes, it goes right through, right? That's good. So I'm going to go up to the next one, which is going to be 18 thousandths of an inch. So in theory, this should not fit. Maybe it will fit. It'll be very tight, though, if it does fit. 18 thousandths of an inch, because it's just on the border of fitting the 17.7. Okay, so it should. It doesn't go through. Right? It's too small. It wants to go through. It's very close, but it doesn't go through. Right? So that's telling me that by, I don't know, 3 10,000ths of an inch. Is that right? 0.3 thousandths of an inch is preventing that from going through. Either that or there's gunk in there somehow. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to open up this jet here. I'm either going to open it up, maybe I'll open it up about 1,000th. Okay? I'm going to start with that. Okay, I'm going to start with, this is 18 thousandths. This is supposed to be 17.7 thousandths. So I'm actually going to run the drill bit through here. I'm actually going to drill this out just a teeny, yep, see, I barely even tried and it went right through there. Normally when I drill something out like this, it takes a lot longer to go through there, but this one just went right through there. So it's very nice through there, right? It's a little stiff, but it did go through. Maybe I'll work it back and forth a little bit, just to get out any sort of corrosion that's in there maybe. There, that, I mean, that drill bit is going through there quite easily now. It's taking very little effort for me to put that drill bit through there. So what I'm thinking is that this jet is now unclogged. There's nothing left in it. No sort of corrosion or any sort of blockage left in it. The reason this happens to such a minor extent like this, like even just the little tiniest bit of corrosion will make it surge like that and block it up. The EPA, what they do, whoever enforces that, makes the carburetor manufacturers make the jets as lean as they possibly can in order to make the engine run, okay? And any leaner than when it comes out of the factory will really screw it up, because they don't put any sort of like wiggle room in there, none at all. So they make these jets, they manufacture them to run as lean as they possibly can for the engine to function right. Now, when you get even just a little bit of corrosion in there or some sort of blockage, maybe even a small piece of dirt or something, you get the, your engine stops running right, because you have so little error room in there in order for the fuel to flow through. Now, back in the day, before the EPA had any sort of role in small engines, let's say in 1970, the EPA had no role in small engine repair, right? No role in the emissions of small engines. Back then, what they actually used to do is they would actually make carburetors adjustable. So these jets, they would put a little tapered screw on the end of that jet. They would drill it out real big, right? And then they put a tapered screw on the end of the jet, so you could actually adjust how much fuel passes through, right? Because they didn't care about, I guess they didn't care as much about emissions back then as they do now. Here, I'll show you real quick. A prime example of this is Tecumseh. Tecumseh's been making engines since, I don't even know when, the 19, I've seen engines as old as 1960s here. I'm sure they've been making engines for longer than then. Unfortunately, they stopped making engines in 2009, I believe was their last year. I'm not sure why. I think they weren't doing very well business-wise. But right around then, I think it was sometime in the 90s or the 2000s, the EPA started to enforce small engines emissions, right? So what Tecumseh had back in the day, Tecumseh is a small engine manufacturer, by the way, I failed to mention that. What Tecumseh had back in the day is they had carburetors look like this, right? So this is your main jet down here, and if your engine wasn't running right, you take this screw and you open it up a little bit. Now it's going to make your engine run better because you just rich into the mixture. The mixture is actually, you get more fuel. Or if your engine is running too rich, it's sluggish, then you turn it down, make it run cleaner. You can actually have that variability to make it run the best you can. And same thing with the Pilot, the low speed, right here. If if it's not running very good, you put your screwdriver in there, and you adjust it for exactly how you want it to make your engine run as clean as possible. No emissions regarded, right? Then they switched to a design like this later on. This design here, look at the jet at the bottom. Where's the screw? It's all gone. And look at the side. They actually put a plastic cap over this here so that you don't go to get at it and tamper with it. Under this plastic cap is not an adjustment though. There's a screw there, but it's just a fixed jet inside. I'll give you an example here. I actually have separate units of these screws outside of the carburetors. Here's what goes in here. It's the same thing. This is one of the adjustable ones, and you see there's a screw in. It's like a tapered pin in there, and there's a hole in there. When you open up this, here, let me see if I can show you here. Look right there. You see that pin there? I'm going to open this up a bunch right now, right? And you see the pin there now? It's lowered, and it's going to let more gas in. And then if I tighten it all the way again, it's shut, so there's no gas going through, less gas. So you can actually, make it variable. And then here's this. It's one size. Something like this, especially once they started introducing ethanol in fuel in the mid-2000s, a lot of the times what would happen is you would get some sort of corrosion in a jet like this, and if you had ethanol in a carburetor that had this, oh, no problem. You just open that up a little bit, and problem solved. If you have corrosion in a carburetor like this, not your average person, the screw's gone, so not your average person's going to know what to do with that. Then the carburetor has to come off, and you have to come in here with a drill bit and drill it out back to where it's supposed to be, or sometimes carburetor cleaner works. It depends on, what the circumstance is, but it's one of the main reasons why stuff like this happens. And of course, on this new Ariens snowblower, your pilot jet's fixed. There's no screw up there. You can't adjust it. So that's my little explanation on why this happens, if you're curious. Now what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to run compressed air through that little jet there, just to make sure it, all the little dust, is out of that hole there. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the pilot jet back in. It shouldn't take too much work. I'm going to go ahead and take the pilot jet and stick it back in. Now, when you go to stick it back in, sometimes it might give you a little resistance because there is 2 O-rings there that need to seat. I probably should have sprayed it with a little bit of oil, actually. I think I am going to go drop some oil in there. Maybe I'll spray some oil down in there. Okay, here we go. This is just 2-stroke oil. This is what you use in a weed whacker or a leaf blower when you mix the gas and the oil. I'm just going to drop some of that, like a lot of it in there. And I'll put some on the jet, on the O-rings. So now that I did that, when I go start this up for the first time, it's going to smoke like crazy. Now when you go to insert this, it's kind of in an ellipse shape. Ellipse meaning like an oval. There's a flat spot on both sides, and there's a curved spot. You need to put the flat side towards the back of the carburetor. There's a little groove there, or I guess towards the side, towards where the idle screw goes, that way. It doesn't matter which flat side goes first, or which flat side you put where. It doesn't matter. But when I stick this in, the flat side is going to go that way. There's a little groove on it. Let me see if I can bring you in closer so you can see it. It's a little tight, but there's a groove in the back of that jet here. I'm actually going to push the jet back down into the carburetor now. It might click, it might not. If it doesn't click, hold it down for a while until it stays there. This one clicked, so I just pushed the jet back down, and there's a little groove right in the back of that jet there. And it's not going to go in unless, you have that flat side there. Now what I'm actually going to do is I think I'm going to pop the bowl off and just make sure that there's no gunk in that carburetor or anything. Because if there is, then I want to get it out so it doesn't clog the pilot jet again, because that will happen. So it looks like, this being a Honda style engine, there should be a petcock on the engine, a fuel shutoff, which there is because I pulled off a drain valve from it earlier. Oh, this is a terrible view. There, sorry for not the subpar view, but that's actually a fuel petcock that will shut off. Or fuel shutoff, you call it. The knob on the outside went right there, and then you turn it that way and it shuts off the gas, which is what I want to do in this case, because I'm actually going to drain the carburetor, but I'm going to keep the fuel line on the thing, because there's actually a drain valve on the bottom of the carburetor. I guess I misspoke when I said drain valve. It's actually a drain screw. So there's a screw here to take off the bolt. I guess that's the bowl screw there. That's probably also, there's the main jet in there. And then this is the, that's a drain. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick something under here, and I'm going to pop this, and it should drain all the gas out of the carburetor bowl and out of the fuel line. So then I can pop off the bowl safely. There, that should do it. This will work, but now you can't see. So that means I'm going to have to move yous. No, I'll make it work. Where's that wrench? I bet you it's just a 10 millimeter. Yeah. I'm going the wrong way. There she goes. That wasn't much. I'm surprised that's it. Well, I guess I turned the fuel off. If I turn the fuel back on, it's not dripping too good, is it? The gas tank is full. Yeah, the gas tank is full. I'm actually going to check something else after I check the carburetor. There's something else that I think needs to be checked that could also be causing this problem. I'm going to pop the bowl nut off. There it goes. Not bad. I mean, there's a few little things down there, but it's not that bad. Maybe should I pull out the main jet and just make sure it's clear too? I don't see why it wouldn't be clear. I don't think that's a problem, to be honest with you. Maybe I'll just, since the carburetor looks good, I'm sure the main jet is absolutely fine. So I'm not going to touch it. Normally, the main jet's actually sitting right under here. You use a flathead screwdriver to take it out. And it's the same deal as the pilot jet kind of. It's just a fixed orifice size that the fuel flows through up into the engine. The O-ring on the bowl looks fine. It's not bad, but I'm gonna put a bead of oil around it. It looks like the bowl can only go on two ways. It could go on that way and it could go on that way because there's still notches there. I'm going to put the bowl right back on because I don't see any reason why I have to dig any deeper into the carburetor. And the little red seal is still on that bowl screw there, which is good. Right. This carburetor is pretty well built, in all honesty. I'm not gonna lie. I think it's pretty good for a. I guess if it's what LCT uses, and Honda, I guess, uses the same design. But this is a bigger style. This is a bigger. It's the smaller style carburetor mount. It's not the big carburetor mount, but it's a bigger engine. So I'm not going to complain. It looks pretty good. I like it. The other thing I wanted to address is when I turned the petcock back on the fuel valve over there, when I popped the drain valve out and I turned it on, it was just kind of dripping out. When you turn that on, it's kind of supposed to dump out. I'm thinking that's how it's supposed to go. I'm not certain, but I kind of have a feeling that it's supposed to come out faster than it is. I'm going to take the fuel line off the carb and just put my bucket under here and just make sure that it's coming out good, because the problem could be that the carburetor is not getting fuel fast enough. I highly doubt it, but maybe. So that's what I'm going to do that real quick. I don't know. Sometimes these fuel lines are really stuck on there. I'm hoping this one's not. Oh yeah, it's fairly stuck. Wonder if I can pry it off. There it goes. All right, you can see. All right, off with this. Open that up. I don't know, I feel like it should be more than that. I don't know, maybe it's supposed to be like that. I'm not certain, but what I'm gonna do just in case is I'm gonna pop the fuel petcock off. Because there's actually a fuel filter under that petcock in the gas tank. And I'm gonna just wanna make sure that that's not clogged, just in case. Okay, I hope you can see that as much as I can, which is not great. I'd like to get the fuel line off. Actually, I kind of like to get the gas tank off now, because when I take this off, it's just going to leak everywhere because the petcock's not going to be on there anymore. So I'm going to see what it takes to get the gas tank off. I kind of remember on these it's not easy, but it looks like they changed up some of the mounts actually. So I don't think it's going to be that terrible. I did some digging around and it looks like the gas tank was held on by the shroud bolts. This one here, that went like that. On the other side of the engine, the bolts over there held the gas tank on. Other than that, I think there's one over here, right back here. It's a little tough to get to, but that's it. It's not, doesn't seem that hard. Oh no, I need an extension. Try again. There it goes. Oh, the bolt went somewhere. Did you see the gas tank move? I did. Let me see if it comes off here. Which would, I guess I could put that up there. Yeah, that was easy. The engine looks bare now. All those shrouds are off of it. It doesn't look like anything. Yeah, look at that. Well, it certainly looks a little bit less than it did. All the shrouds are laying on the floor. There's the carburetor one, there's the muffler one, there's the gas tank one, or the primer bulb one. There's the one that the throttle linkage one, and there's the gas tank. Doesn't look like much of anything now. Well, I found the bolt. It's right here. Score. Okay, I oriented the gas tank like this. It certainly looks a little bit easier to get. Oh, there it goes. If I let it sit on the bottom, it'll leak. Oh, it's leaking right now, isn't it? Well, it turns out that gas cap's not airtight. Technically, that's how it's supposed to be. The gas caps are actually meant to be vented. So, it's my fault for tipping it over. I was gonna take this off and then take this off if it will come off. There we go. Then I gotta get a wrench on there. Yeah, good enough. It's a little loose. Yeah, it should be good enough. Is it the wrong way? And there is the filter. Can you believe that? That's your fuel filter. That's pathetic. Oh, is it leaking again? I learned my lesson the hard way. I'm not sure how I haven't learned it yet, but I dumped all the gas out of it. So that doesn't happen again. Here's the fuel filter. I can't believe this is all they put on these things. You really, I mean, this is not the right way to do it. You really should have a paper filter. Because the paper filter does a much better job. This misses a lot and it gets clogged up easy. So I'm guessing that that small amount of fuel flow is normal. I'm guessing that's how it's supposed to work. Oh, it's interesting. They put like some sort of a sealant on here. I don't know if that was from the factory or if somebody else did that, but It looks like there's some sort of a silicone-based sealant around there. It looks like it's... I don't know if the factory would have done that. So I'm going to put this back on. Is that crooked? I think it's crooked. I think that's better. I guess we'll find out when I go to put everything back together. There you go. That's back on. You know what? Before I put the gas tank back on, I think I'm actually going to put this carburetor shroud back on, because I think it's going to be way easier to put on now than with the gas tank not on. Yeah, it's easier. Man, those gaskets are paper thin they put on the carburetor. Paper thin. That's terrible. I wonder if I have a new one. I guess I can pop the carburetor off now while I'm here. While I'm here, let me open up the carburetor one more time, since the carburetor is already off, and just check the main jet, like really, because I can actually see it now. So here, I just took the bowl back off again, and the main jet is in there. If you take it, you actually take it out with a screwdriver, which I'm going to do right now, and I'm just going to check it real quick. All right, there's the main jet. I can see right through it. And there's actually a number on the main jet also. Should I go run my drill bit through this also and just make sure it's clear? I might as well, I'm already here. And then the emulsion tube also comes out with the main jet, and it's fine too. No, I think I'm gonna leave the main jet well enough alone, because it's not gonna be problematic. Maybe I'll go blow some air through it, but it's not gonna be problematic. I know it's not going to be problematic. All right, I'm going to go ahead and put the main jet back in, and then the real purpose of why I took this off is because I wanted to put a new gasket on that front piece. Now, I know there's 4 gaskets here. There's one here, there's one behind there. Actually, is there only 2 on this? Actually, there might be only 2. This one looks a little bit different than a Honda engine. I'm used to the Honda engines. The Honda engines have the gasket for the carburetor, they have the gasket for the adapter, and a bunch of other things. I'm going to see if I have another gasket for that, just in case. I think I do. If I do, I will give it one, but if I don't, then I'm going to have to reuse the old one. No, I don't think I have one. I would put gasket sealing compound on it, but once I do that, it's, you know, it's one-time use at that point. So the only reason I wanted to address this was just in case the gasket was not good shape, but it's fine. It's just paper thin. All right, carburetor's going back on. Oh, that's enough. There we go. All right. Oh, I screwed up the spring. The spring has to come back off. Okay. What I ended up doing is I wrapped the spring around the linkage. Okay, so this shroud's gonna go on first, and then the gas tank's gonna go on. And then I don't know yet. I think I'll put this piece back on now too. I don't see why I can't. Gotta put the fuel line on first, huh? That would help. Actually, might be supposed to be that far with this. Oh, screw it. Now I can put that stupid thing back on. Oh! Where's my impact? I hope it's over here. Looks like I put the fuel thing on pretty good. I matched up the size pretty well. And I guess this can go back on also. Do not use electric start in rain. How about snow? That seems quite dumb. It's an interesting comment to say. I wonder why they had to put that on there. I wonder if somebody was doing something that they weren't supposed to. I'm saying, what if somebody used the electric start in the rain and something bad happened? I find that hard to believe though. Now what? I guess I can put the fuel knobby back on. I don't know which one. I guess that's this one here, huh? Is there a right way? It looks like it goes on either way. This fuel knob seems to come off quite easy now. I wonder why. The choke knob is a lot stiffer. What happened to the fuel knob? Why does it come off so easy? Looks like this thing is bent up a little bit. Wonder if I can bend this back down. I'll take that. So it looks like I need to put the shroud back on with the switches. And as I'm inspecting the plugs here, it looks like one of the plugs kind of self-destructed when I pulled it out. It doesn't look very good. So I'm not sure if it's going to hold. I'm going to give it a new one. Now I don't know if I have any bent 90-degree ones like this, but I don't see why a straight one wouldn't do the same thing. So I think I'm going to put a new plug on here, but I'm going to put a straight one on here because it certainly needs it. Take off the old one. I don't think I need this boot. The insulation is basically so that it doesn't short out. And I see it a lot of times on weed whackers, but they only have one boot, they don't have two. In my case, I don't really think I need to. And the reason I'm tempted to take it off is because when I put the straight one on there, it's not going to sit right. It looks like this wire has some sort of fibers wrapped around it. There we go. That looks pretty good. I will take that. As far as the old insulation, I'm not sure what I want to do. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's necessary because typically in an application like this, you don't want the two wires to touch. Most of the time I actually only see one thing of insulation on things like this. To be honest, I don't think it's going to matter. It's unfortunate that that terminal broke, but unfortunately there's nothing else I can do. All right, next problem. I have 4 terminals on this switch here, the on and off switch, and I don't know what 4 terminals go to what. My guess is these two are connected and these 2 are connected. But I'm just gonna go test it just to make sure, because I don't wanna put back together and then find out that it won't start because I hooked up the wires wrong. Yeah, I was right. The way it works is it's on right now. Nothing's connected. And then when I kill it, there's 2 sets of contacts in here. One set is on this row and one set is on this row. I don't know why they used a bigger switch. They probably did that just for aesthetics, to be honest. They didn't need such a big switch, but they put a big switch on there just because they could. You don't need it, but they put it on there. So when you close the, or I guess when you kill the switch, these 2 sets of contacts close together, and these 2 sets of contacts close together. But these 2 are not connected. They're totally separate lines. So it doesn't matter what side I put it on, it just has to go on the top and bottom of the same side. And then it grounds out the coil, is basically what I'm trying to get at. Now when I put this on there, I guess it doesn't really matter because it goes up, it routes, here you can't see. When it mounts up all said and done, it runs this way. The key switch is at the bottom and then the off switch is up at the top. Looks like this wire's starting to, the insulation on this wire is starting to go. This doesn't look great. I wonder how that happened. Yeah, that's strange. I mean, it's not going to do anything as long as the actual wire is... Oh, you can't even see. I'm sorry. That insulation is starting to go. It was like that when I dug in there. I don't know how that happened. Hopefully it wasn't a mouse. Squeak, squeak. As long as this is not through the actual wire itself, which it appears to me that that is not the case. It looks fine all around. So I don't think it's a worry. If it was a mouse and it chewed through the wire, the worst that can happen is you won't be able to turn it off. And then you could just, you know, kill the gas or pop the plug wire out. It's no big deal. I wonder what that was. Yeah, these terminals are interesting. There we go. Actually, you know what maybe I could do? Maybe I could insulate that with a piece of heat shrink. I'm gonna go insulate the top of that with a piece of heat shrink versus the boot. My thought here was I can take an insulation or a heat shrink like this, cut it, and then I could shrink it down on the top of the terminal so that it'll be insulated from the rest. So what's going on with that? Oh, that worked well. Yeah, I'd say that pretty good. Keep going here. No good. There we go. Now it's insulated again. Almost like new there, except of course without the bend, but I don't care. It's going to work either way and you're not going to see it. Yeah, I'm not sure why they put bends here instead of the straights, because that can go on. Actually, that one's pretty loose too. Let me see if I can tighten that real quick. Yeah, when the terminals are loose like that, what I'll do is I'll go down with some pliers and just press on the top of them. It tightens them up. All right, let's see if that does us any better. If it doesn't tighten up, then we got to put a new one on this too. Maybe I tightened it too much. Not going on. There it goes. That's very tight. And we have this one here, our new one. Yeah, look at that, like a glove. I will take that. That looks pretty good. It's gonna work, and that's what matters. And you're not gonna see it. It's gonna sit about like that. Now it's not pushed down all the way, of course. I have to do that, and then I have to put, I guess I have to put the primer line on here also. That would help. Now I have to figure out how to get it up and over this. There we go, like that. There we go. I need a flashlight. I don't know how low this has to go. Does it have to sit? Where does it sit? It sits right there. Oh, that's perfect. Where's the over here? Oh, okay, here we go. I need this bolt here. I forgot to say something, but now I'm gonna put the muffler shrouds back on. There's actually two of them. I did not separate them before because I had no need to, but now I have to separate them because things are a little tight. Ouch. I believe this one went in. And then the one went in over here. And then the other two I think I had to put in with a ratchet. Oh no, where'd that go? Oh! There it is. You'll never guess what I forgot to do. I forgot to put the idle screw back in. How much of a pain is that? You'll never guess what I have to do now. Everything back apart. I think it was about 2 1/8 turns, something like that. I hope it was. back together. Finally. Okay, the snowblower now is all back together. I will say this. It's not a guarantee that this will fix it, because sometimes I've seen cases before where I actually have to open up that pilot jet even more than what it's supposed to be. And I may need to do that here. But with the pilot jet being cleaned out the way I did it, I'm going to try it. And if it stops surging, great. If it doesn't stop surging, I'll open up the pilot jet a little bit more and try it again. Then a little bit more, then try it again. I know it's a lot of shrouds to take off, but that's how it will have to be done. But for now, I'd like to try it. I'm going to put some gas back in the tank, but I'm actually going to put ethanol-free back in the tank instead of what was in there, because the way when I put ethanol-free in it, this is very likely not to happen again. It'll be much healthier for it. This is 89 octane ethanol free, and it should be much better for it, especially if it sits over the summer. That should be good enough for now, just to get it running. All right, so unfortunately it has decided to get dark out on me, but I'm anxious to try it. I hope you could see okay, but I'm gonna try it. Like I said, if it doesn't quit surging, then I'll have to go back in and open up the pilot jet a little bit. But as of right now, I'm hoping that it works. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the gas on, let the float ball fill up a little bit, and see if I can start it. All right, so I'm gonna turn the gas on, turn the fuel petcock on. I'm gonna give it a few seconds and let the float ball fill back up. Make sure nothing leaks, because if something leaks, then that's not gonna be good. Let me see if it'll start. I don't know, but we'll see, we'll try. I don't know about you, but I think we did it. I don't hear any surging. That's fantastic. And it idles pretty good too. Remember before it wouldn't idle fantastic, and it was kind of ready to stall. I guess I set the idle screw right, because it seems to be idling at quite a good RPM here. Let me get closer so you can hear it. Maybe it could be a little lower, but I'm satisfied with where it is. I don't need to tap it because it's set at the same place as it was before, so I'm fairly confident that it'll work okay. Yeah, this is great. It's much better. And the kill switch works. That's also good. So that means our new connection worked also. Well, that's wonderful. Well, I don't know about you, but I think we fixed it. Sometimes that's all it takes on these little, engines with the fixed jets like that. Just a little bit of corrosion. I just stuck my, I think it was 18 thousandths in there, and it's supposed to be 17.7 thousandths. I just opened it up just ever so slightly and just popped my thing in there. And obviously I blew out the main jet also, and I went through the fuel filter just to make sure that wasn't the problem, but it wasn't. And the main deal was definitely that pilot jet. And you know, I hope it doesn't happen in the future. The problem is that jet's so small. It's bound to happen. Hopefully the ethanol-free gas will help a little bit. I'm definitely very happy with how this one turned out, that's for sure. I'll have to do an oil change on it later then at some point. It needs one. It burned a little bit of oil because it hasn't had an oil change, I was told, for a long time. So I'll have to do an oil change. And then other than that, it's pretty much done. It's ready to go. You know, very happy to see it on its way out. I hope it does great in the future. You know, I hope the ethanol-free gas helps it for the future. But for now, I would like to thank you all very much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.